The novel opens on a blustery January day in the fictional town of Hanover, Nebraska, sometime between 1883 and 1890. A young woman named Alexandra Bergson has come to the small town to consult a doctor about her dying father. In town, her younger brother Emil's cat gets stuck atop a telegraph pole, and Carl Lindstrom, a skinny, melancholy teenager friendly with Alexandra, climbs the pole to retrieve it. In the town drugstore, a cute and flirtatious girl named Marie is the toast of the local gentry. Together, the Bergsons and Carl drive their wagon out to their neighboring farms in the vast, dark, savage prairie country around Hanover known as the Divide. At home, Alexandra speaks with her father John Bergson, who is lying on his deathbed. Bergson immigrated from Sweden, and has spent years battling the land to pay off a mortgage and scratch out a farm. Now, he resolves to leave his land under the care of his wise and resolute oldest child, Alexandra, as his sons, Oscar and Lou, are uninspired, and his wife, while stereotypically industrious, is rather dull. Before he dies, John gives his children practical advice for running the farm and places on Alexandra's shoulders the responsibility for her brothers. 6 months after John Bergson's death, the Bergson children, together with Carl Lindstrom, make an excursion to the nearby cave home of Crazy Ivar, a local eccentric and horse doctor. Ivar is religious, solitary, and strange. The boys distrust him, but Alexandra listens carefully to his sensitive, humane advice about farming. It becomes clear that Alexandra is the most determined of the Bergson children. 3 years after John Bergson's death, a drought hits the Divide, and many families sell their land and leave. Carl Lindstrom moves away with his family, and his departure is difficult for Alexandra, since the two have become best friends and soulmates. The two older Bergson boys, Lou and Oscar, suggest that they, too, should sell the farm and leave the Divide. Alexandra disagrees, but determines to find out whether there is, in fact, a better alternative to farming the Divide. She journeys to the nearby river country, where she explores new methods of farming, and realizes that the river country is no more prosperous than the highlands. She is struck by an epiphany, resolving ecstatically to continue farming on the Divide, convinced that it will yield to her efforts and repay them generously. Alexandra suggests a risky scheme, taking out another mortgage and buying even more land. At first, Lou and Oscar reject her plan, but they eventually give in to her calm resolve. In its first sentence, the novel establishes the kind of symbolism it will use. The little town of Hanover was trying not to be blown away. The narration opens, personifying the impersonal by positioning the town to stand for its inhabitants. As the incarnated spirit of the settlers, Hanover struggles to stay anchored in the prairie wind. Much of the novel's opening section, titled The Wild Land, dedicates itself to a description, and more importantly, to a characterization, of the land, setting personified forces and entities into conflict with each other. The force of nature is so powerful that it can overwhelm the efforts of settlers. In this newly settled country, the record of the plow was insignificant, like the feeble scratches on stone left by prehistoric races, so indeterminate that they may, after all, be only the markings of glaciers, and not a record of human strivings. The mark of man upon the land becomes indistinguishable from the marks of nature's own processes. The dying John Bergson remarks that this is a land hostile to cultivation, its genius was unfriendly to man. Similarly, Carl Lindstrom believes that the land wanted to be let alone, to preserve its own fierce strength, its peculiar, savage kind of beauty, its uninterrupted mournfulness.